Hey, welcome back to the Coin Box. Today I want to do something a little different and go through my Mexican Numismatic Library. And I got some new books in just recently, so I thought I'd share what I have and go through it very briefly. So I guess to start off, here's an old, this says 1822 to date. And what's interesting about these older books is sometimes it kind of catches you off guard. If we look at... for example, the 1 peso coin here, if I can find it. Some coins that you expect to have been minted for more time. So, for example, this 1 peso coin, it only has 1970 and then 1971, and 1971 doesn't even have the mintage. And that's because this book really is from 1822 to 1971, 72-ish. And so, anyway, this is kind of a catalog, a guidebook. It has some prices. And then, of course, I have in PDF form, I have Coins and Prices, the 2019 edition. And this catalog, the prices aren't always accurate, but it's a good reference point. And it gives you a quick glance at the mintages. And so sometimes mintages can be an indication of the value to a certain extent of a certain year and kind of coin. So yeah, as far as catalogs go, that's basically what I have for coins. And then if we move on here, I've shown, I think, some of these on the channel before. I'm going to zoom out here because these get larger and larger as we go. Not quite, but these are pretty large. This one here is specifically on error coins, and it goes through. I won't show everything, obviously, but maybe just to give an idea. They have some cool illustrations of how different errors or different processes affect the coins in different ways, and how that results in different errors on the coins. What's cool about some of these coins is I recognize some names. Other ones very few I've actually met in person, but other ones I've connected with. Dr. Carlos Abel Amaya is one that I have met, and I have an interview with him on the channel. I'll leave a link up here to that video if you haven't watched it already. And then we have these two, which I think I've also shown before. This is an illustrated guide to varieties, modern varieties. So this is from 1905 to 1969. This is number 1. And the number 2 goes from 1970 to 2020. And this has a whole list of different varieties of, mostly these are circulation coinage, Mexican circulation coinage. So this is also a great reference for varieties. And there are always new varieties being found or attributed, but it's a good, great reference material as well, if you're looking for different Mexican coin errors or varieties to search and look for. Then we have this book here, which also I've shown on the channel before. This one is, there's a volume 1 and a volume 2, which I also have here. I'll talk about this one briefly. But what's cool about some of these books, and again, I've shown this page before, but this set here, which I've done a video on, if it weren't for this book, I would not have known this set even existed. And so when if I had seen it for sale, which I did, I wouldn't have recognized it as being an official Bank of Mexico coin set. But thanks to this book, I did. And so this book has a lot of information, a lot of illustrations. This is kind of an overview of, it says Illustrated History of Mexican Coins and Currency. This one's a bit more common. This one, the volume 2, is a bit more sought after, a bit scarcer, and a bit more expensive. But this one is Modern Coins of Mexico from 1905 to date. And this one has, let me see if I can find one briefly here. Again, I don't want to leaf through these too much. You can, I'd encourage you to find them and purchase them if you are interested in doing so. They're really great books, and the illustration in these are really, really good. Anyway, I'm trying to find, they have kind of snippets and bios and a lot more information on different coins, not only coins, but history of Mexico and different people. And this one's a really great book. I can see why it's so sought after. It's a little more, it's not so broad, and a little more specific and in-depth information on different coins and different people and the history of the coins themselves. And going back to something I had mentioned earlier, it's interesting for me to look at the page here with the acknowledgements and read through the names. And it's cool. It's really interesting how some of the names, go from one book. Some of the authors of one book maybe acknowledged in another book. So here's, for example, Carlos Amaya right there. And then I was talking to Scott Dahl, who is mentioned here below as well. I don't know a lot of these people, but I do. Thankfully, I've been. It's been cool to connect with some via social media. So I haven't met them. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting them in person yet, but I've connected with a few. Scott Dahl is one of them, and he was telling me about this series, how it was going to be, at least in theory, a 4-volume set. And he mentioned that the 3rd volume was going to cover colonial and republic, and then the 4th volume would have focused on the revolutionary period. So those unfortunately fell through with the passing of Don Bailey and Whitman. I guess apparently the volume 3 was 90% done, but Whitman decided to stop work on that one as well, which is kind of sad. This would have been a really cool 4-volume set, but as it is, the 1st and 2nd volume are very sought after and great books to own. And then, of course, if we talk about Mexican pattern coins, well, this is the book to get. And this is Pablo Luna's Las Pruebas de la Moneda Mexicana del Siglo XX, 20th century Mexican pattern coins. And there's a 1st and 2nd edition. This is the 2nd edition, which has a lot, many more pieces cataloged than the 1st edition. And what's cool about this book, again, I don't want to leaf through it, but I'll just open to a random page, give you a kind of sneak peek at what's in here. Beautiful images and the information relating to it. What's cool is that I believe at least PCGS, maybe NGC at this point as well, has listed this book as their official reference book on pattern coins, Mexican pattern coins. So if you get a coin graded with them, this is the book they'll be referencing to get that pattern coin certified. So again, this was a very new edition. In fact, I haven't really even read it through yet. I've looked at it briefly, but I just got this in. The author himself was kind enough to notify me that there was one available, and so I picked that up. And this is not cheap. It's a highly, highly popular and sought-after book, but well worth having in my Mexican Numismatic Library. And by the same author, Pablo Luna Herrera, this was a more recent publication of his, and it's kind of cool. If you flip it, it's in Spanish. You flip it, it's in English. And this is on the topic of some pattern coins made at the Soho Mint in Birmingham. And it's about, it's really kind of 2 books in one, English and Spanish. So half the book is English, half the book in Spanish, with some illustrations as well. That's kind of a cool, more specific book on some more pattern coins. And then finally, I have 2 huge books. I'm not even sure I can fit them just barely on screen. And just to give you an idea of how large these are, I'll show you the size comparison to the first book I showed. I mean, these are huge books. I have 2 of them. I got this one. I was actually on the lookout for this one. I could not find it anywhere, and it just happened to pop up in my feed. Someone was selling it, and I bought it. It's the title is, the Mexican Mint, 5 Centuries of Tradition. And it covers from about, let me see if I can show you the contents of the book. It covers from about, I want to say 17, what's the introduction? Come on, there we go, 1733. From about 1733 to about, when it was published in 1999, 2000, around there. At the back of the book, and again, I'll just give you a sneak peek at how it is. It's got text, a lot of history, a lot of images, very good information. It's by several authors. It's not just one author, which is great because each author kind of specializes in a different topic. And then here at the end, they have, 3,000 were printed and published in 1999. So that's this book. And then another huge book is this one, La Acuñación en México, which again is just huge. And this is a little more recent, 2015. So this covers from 1535 to 2015. And again, the illustrations, the photos, let's see if I can give you an example. Some of them are just full page and they are beautiful. Let me give you here's some. Anyway, they have just full page images, lots of information. And again, this is from several authors. Both of these last 2 books are published by the Secretaría de Hacienda y Crédito Público, SHCP, which is the equivalent of the Department of the Treasury, you could say. And this is the contents again. So there we see it's a list of different authors covering different periods and different topics of the Mexican Mint for 480 years at this point, 1535 to 2015. And again, at the back here, it says that it was printed in 3,000 books were printed, and it was published. They finished printing October 2015. Again, these are not necessarily easy to come by. I was lucky to pick both of these big books up. And again, so much information. I'm doing quite a bit of research, especially 1850 to 1950 period right now of the Mexican Mint, which I'll cover in future videos. But these books have helped a lot with that information because some information is just not available online or anywhere else. So it's great to have these books. So I'm trying to cover a broad range of topics with my numismatic library. So I'm covering, price reference books, catalogs, errors, varieties, history, patterns, metals. Oh, metals. Yes, there are. So as far as metals are concerned, the books to get are the Grove volumes 1 through 4. Grove has these books which he published, and I think they go up till 1970-ish, around there. So there are Mexican metals which were minted after that, which is really hard to get information on. But if they were minted before 1970s, the Grove books or catalogs are the way to go as far as that is concerned. And finally, before I finish out the video, there's one more PDF I want you to look at, and that is the Mexican Paper Money PDF. Now, this was also published in 2010, the first edition, as a hardcover book. But the second edition, which was published in 2017, is a digital edition which you can buy and download in PDF form. And you can get it at worldnumismatics.com for about $35. Whenever I make videos like this, I think of my friend Dan at Polar Currency. And I remember in one of his videos, he addresses the coin channels, and he says, it's okay, talk about coins, but every once in a while also, talk about paper currency. And so in making this video, I did want to highlight this Mexican paper currency book as well. I have a very small paper currency collection, but I enjoy seeing what's out there, and it's fascinating to just look through books like this and see the images of some really beautiful Mexican paper currency. And speaking of Polar Currency, if you haven't subscribed to him already, go check him out. If you haven't watched any of his videos, you're really missing out. He does a great job of presenting stories, the history of different events and different paper currency in a very fascinating, entertaining way. He really does a great job. So if you haven't checked out his videos, go watch them. And if you haven't subscribed, be sure and subscribe. It'll be well worth your time. Well, there you have it. That is the current state of my small Mexican numismatic library. Let me know what you have in your library in the comments below, and let me know what you recommend I get. Let me know if there's a book that you've enjoyed on Mexican numismatics. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and share it with a numismatic friend. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.